capacity and facility deficiencies for the organization of all sports, and more importantly, rebrand the popular inter-schools and college sports towards mainstreaming their products into national teams for all international games. This was captured in the 2020 manifesto of the New Patriotic Party. Joining us on the phone line is the Director of Communications of the NPP, Mr. Richard Ahiagbah. Good morning, sir. Thank you very much for your time this morning.
Good morning, John.
Great. And how are you doing? How's the party doing from where you sit?
I think we're fine. And I hope you're fine too.
I am greater than Accra. Richard, let's begin this conversation. I mean, there's been a lot of hue and cry about the All Africa Games that are happening. Athletes are complaining. The minister has been trying to explain, but the citizenry are not too excited about some of the explanations that are happening. What do you say as the communications guru of the party, because this was specifically captured in the 2020 manifesto of the NPP?
Yeah, sorry. John, can you hear me?
I can hear you. Please go ahead.
Right. Well, I want to thank you and your listeners for the opportunity. I guess what I'll say first of all is that we should commend ourselves for having gone through the challenges that all of us know were at foot, and the probability of even not having these games given those challenges, the economic difficulties and all that attended the initial concentrations. But somehow we pulled it off. The facilities have been built. I have not been to any of the venues yet, but from accounts from people who have been really positive in terms of the infrastructure that's been put in place. So on that score, I think that we should commend ourselves as Ghanaians for going the long haul to have all these investments put in. Now, your question relates to the specific running or management of the events and what complaints people have. I don't know if you've been to any of these events. They are human organizations. They're not divine by any stretch, and so there are glitches that happen. And what you tend to see often is that as the tournament progresses, all these bottlenecks and initial missteps are fixed. So my expectation is that as the tournament progresses, some of these concerns will be ironed out.
The concerns are becoming one too many. Athletes in pickup buckets, they getting undersized or oversized boots or equipment being received late in the day, just a day before, they not being so comfortable with that because they had to actually train and rehearse with that before they get onto the big stage to play. Was the intention really to go there to compete like Egypt is getting over 60 medals as we speak? Was it to go and compete with the likes of countries like that, or were we just going to show face, as it were?
Well, I would think that we'll make all these investments just to show face. At any rate, it is our face that's on the event. So we're there actually to compete. But I just would reiterate, whilst is concerning all the challenges we've had so far, I think that we should also appreciate that in the nature of it, these are people coordinating issues, and so these things are bound to happen. Even the best jurisdictions where these have been organized and done over and over again, there are always glitches. We don't just see them because it's not on our lap. There are own citizens who have seen it. I tell you what we just saw in Ivory Coast recently, even though it was a one discipline event, there are challenges that in the background as visitors, as people who just get up and go to the stadium and don't pay attention to the local news as much, except to our national team. There are glitches that happen, even though routinely there's a template for organizing the African Cup of Nations, there are glitches that are always happening about things. It is through that process that we perfect the act of hosting, to perfect the act of doing the thing that is before us. So I wouldn't have us belabor that. Let's take note of it and improve. And I think that the minister, as you said, and the local organizing committee, I think they are taking due notice of some of these glitches. And I guarantee you that as the days progress, these will be attended to.
Now, this is having a negative effect on the narratives around the whole tournament, particularly on Ghana as host nation. And we have had cause to speak to some of the athletes from other countries who are complaining. For example, the lights out. I think second or third day into the tournament, the 4 hostels that were converted into the games village, the lights went out. They all came out. They thought it was something very serious happening until they were told that it's just, a power outage that had happened and all of that. And you ask yourself, is this the best way to sell our country at this time?
No. There are challenges. I mean, you see, so there's a difficulty. I think that the example I was going to give you was going to be too graphic. But I'm saying that once you're dealing with life, any number of things can happen. My very first time going to South Africa, I landed at the airport and I drove to the Airbnb where I was going to stay. I walked in there and the lady gave me a notice that, we don't have lights till 2 a.m. in the morning. I said, no, this is South Africa. I said, yeah, this is how our system works, that we don't have lights for so many hours and then we have it for so many hours. And so that is South Africa. They don't wish to sell their country that way, but it's a system difficulty they have, so they deal with it.
But then
let me land quickly for you. The point I want to make is that events happen. So far as you want to put your best foot forward, sometimes this happens. And I think I heard the minister clearly indicating the arrangements they have made with the utility agencies, water and electricity inclusive, to try and prioritize these games. But that memo perhaps did not get to all, or if it got to all, people didn't take it serious enough to operationalize that directive, and that's where we have that challenge. But he made a clear promise that going forward, they would ensure that this never recurs. That point I am making to you is that people can do excellently well, and sometimes you have people, they take their eyes off the ball, and that's those moments you can have glitches like this happen. But my intention would be for all of us to affirm and to let the ministers and the duty bearers understand that they must not let their eye off the ball, must make sure that they do their very best to represent us the best way we know they can.
I didn't hear the minister apologize for anything that has happened. He rather said that, well, we are not blamable. If, for example, athletes were not getting the equipment, it's the federations that must be held accountable because we bought everything. And for me, that was quite troubling, that you had a big opportunity, everybody's complaining. The least that could have dropped off his list was to have apologized on behalf of everybody, and the matter will be a thing of the past. Don't you think so, sir?
Yeah, I would encourage, if I were standing in for the minister, I will appreciate the difficulty and indicate my apology or our collective apology. But what I would do more than apology is to reassure. And I think he did that one very clearly, to say that the going forward, they will ensure this doesn't happen. I think that is equally important. It's perhaps more important. Apology is necessary, but going forward, what will you do to ensure this does not recur? The minister was very clear and emphatic on ensuring that people take away the comfort that the local organizing committee will ensure it doesn't recur. The apology is necessary, but Johnny, you'll agree with me that the apology will have no value if it is only for another time to offer it again. And what is key in this moment is to assure people that, yes, we take note of the problem and we will fix it, because the constitution of the press conference to address the issue in of itself It's a recognition that something has gone wrong and inherently an apology. But what we want to hear after an apology is a plan, is an assurance that the problem will be solved. And I think that he's offered that, and we can go with that.
Well, he didn't apologize, but he reassured. And I'm wondering on what basis the reassurance was given.
Apology, Johnny, you can have 1,000 apologies.
I hear you, but I'm saying that on what basis was the reassurance given?
I have admitted to say that if I were in his stead, I would have. But I'm also trying to rationalize for you that the knowledge or the presence of mind to say something has happened. Let's bring a press conference to update people, to assure people. It's a recognition of guilt or failure, in which case you are providing the assurance that the problem will be solved. So the act itself is a recognition, which is an apology inherently, but then to let people move forward in confidence to say that this will be a thing of the past.
Richard, so for example, a basic thing for an international tournament or games like a standby generator is not available in all of the conversation that we have. I mean, University of Ghana, for example, has standby generators for some of the faculties and all of that. We know that we're converting 4 of the hostels into this village. We're installing air conditioners and water heaters, changing mattress and all of that. A standby generator was not part of the equation?
Well, Johnny, we can dwell on this matter all day, but I think that one, there's a recognition that something was amiss and that they've taken notes of it and they're going to work on it. And 2, in the press conference, I think that I heard the minister mention about, I think it was specifically, Cape Coast, if my memory.
Yes, Cape Coast Stadium, yes.
That, yes,
the lights went off twice.
Right, that they have a generator set, but the staff on the ground, the facility manager had resources to fuel the generators and have them ready for kick-on, but then somehow the local team or the facility management team dropped the ball on that, and by the time they got the gen set up, the light had come. So these are operational, decision, low-level decision, first-line decision level mishaps. And so the coming to the fore of these issues will lead to fixing them, that we then will be able to charge people and hold them accountable more and try to ensure that going forward they will iron out all these difficulties. But I want us to make the point that this by no means defines the very bold decision and investment to make sure Ghana holds the 2023 African Games.
Does this not come back to the initial days when some group of Ghanaians said, fix the country, and then we came back with a retort, fix yourselves? Now, it appears that this embarrassment is not only national, it has gone continental and global. Is it time to fix Ghana?
Johnny, who came back to say fix yourself? I don't know.
Owusu Bempa, your Deputy Director of Communications, Hope Sinadoy, they held numerous press conferences here.
Whatever time those comments were made, Owusu Bempa was not the Deputy Director of the New Patriotic Party. So let's have
no, I'm just saying that he is always
but
an important...
Bring it in, I just want us to be clear on the matter, okay? As a party, as a government, we didn't canvass that position to tell anybody to fix themselves. We didn't say that. So that must be on record.
No, I'm not. I'm saying that there are elements within your party, who have held positions in your party, who came up to say, fix yourself. They're known. The press conferences are, if you Google fix yourself now, you find them.
Johnny, let's not delve into the minors. I'm saying that a political party such as the New Patriotic Party formed a government led by His Excellency Nahado Dankwa Akufo-Addo, Dr. Baumia. If you want to attribute something to us, it should be formal and mainstream. Okay, so you cannot, import what individuals have done in their capacity as citizens and superimpose that on a party and a government. I want us to be clear on that so we don't confuse listeners. Now, the issue about fixing the country is a process. When was Ghana born? Right? And how old is Ghana? Okay? So the past 8 years is where we're saying that Ghana ought to be fixed ultimately. We need to get that conversation in context.
No, because you
Hold on,
Richard, forgive me. Richard, I beg you.
I have not answered your question. I'm setting a premise to answer my question.
And I want to supply information. You, prior to 2016, before you got into power, Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo says, give me 18 months and I will transform the country. I don't know, my math is not good, but how many months has it been since then?
Johnny, to transform the country is to say what? Is to say an absolute fixing of the country. Is that your interpretation?
What did he mean when he said that?
No, but you are the one saying it, because is that your understanding? If that's your understanding, I can answer your question based on that. Is that your understanding?
He said,
when you say you will transform the country, it means that you will absorb all the problems of the people of Ghana. Is that the meaning?
So I'll give you one example. He says that in 2 years, which is 24 months, no household in the country will have a toilet or water problem. Today, the narrative has not changed. So he contextualized the give me 18 months to fix it.
Johnny, please. Let's not do this ourselves. Okay?
What are we doing to ourselves, my brother?
What the kind of impression you are seeking to create is not realistic in your own life, Johnny.
I am not creating the impression. I'm just rehashing what the president said in opposition.
Listen, Johnny. Are you a Christian?
Oh, of course I am.
How many times have we not sung, it is well with my soul? And after you leave the church, you know it's not well with your soul.
It is not me. It is what Nana Addo Akufo-Addo said and was voted for by the Ghanaian people based on that.
Calm down, Johnny. This is not an argument.
Oh, I'm calm. I'm always calm. You know that.
Yes, that's okay. So I'm saying that you are a Christian. You've been in church. And you think it is well with my soul. But once you leave there, you know it's not well with your soul.
Well, I don't take people's taxes to tell them that give me the reins of power. I don't do that.
You don't want me to answer your question.
No, Richard, it's unfair. It's unfair.
A certain perspective on people, and I'm trying to have you yourself.
Richard,
let us understand that what is said is not an absolute situation.
Richard, it is unfair.
Richard, 7 years old. No, Johnny, just hold on.
Richard, sorry. You just drew me into the conversation, so I need to.
No,
it is unfair.
No,
it is unfair. It is unfair. No. Wait, please.
We answer the question.
It is unfair.
But somehow you are inserting yourself in the conversation, seeking to promote a certain viewpoint. And for me, that is not how you moderate a conversation.
Richard, you are the one pushing me. Richard.
So just ask a question. Let me answer. Your viewers are discerning enough to understand what we're saying. But don't try to promote a certain view.
Richard.
And seek to force a question in that direction.
Richard, you are the one forcing me into the conversation by saying that I have gone to church many times and sung it is well with my soul when I know it's not well. I don't take the people's taxes. I didn't run for office. I have not been sworn into power. I don't have the opportunity that the president have. I don't contract loans on behalf of the people. I don't have the authority that the president has. Now, this man stood on a campaign platform. And prior to that, I'm coming. Our president of the republic, our president, he stood on a platform and in the fifth attempt to become president, he was hoping that he would get the nod this time around. And he said, give me 18 months. I will transform the country. That's one. And he contextualized it further to say, in 2 years, no household in Ghana will have a toilet or water problem. How is that a narrative that I'm forcing on the people? By repeating what he said, I'm forcing it on the people now?
Johnny, thank you very much. So I hope you allow me to answer a question.
Go ahead, please.
And when I raise a rhetorical question, it is for clarity. You don't necessarily have to come in. So just hear just as I've heard you.
Go ahead, please.
One, I asked the question. To transform the country in 18 months, your understanding of that is to say that the totality of the problems of Ghana will be solved in 18 months. Was that your understanding? I don't think so. Right? Now, would you say that in the 18 months of Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo's government and Dr. Bawumia's government, there were no transformations in this country? Is that your contention? I don't think so. So you understand, and the way I brought you into the conversation is that even us as individuals, with our utmost parochial commitment to ourselves to do well, we are not able to go beyond ourselves to solve all our problems in 18 months. Because in the physical space of the world we live in, it takes time to do certain things. And your best intentions are subject to reactions in the environment. So if President Akufo-Addo and Dr. Bawumia leading a government saying that in 18 months it is our vision to achieve so and so transformation in the country, it is subject to the response of the people to the policies they will put in place. So if you take the initiative to say that Accra will be the cleanest city in Africa, I've heard people say that, oh, he said it and it has not happened. You think that that policy is preempting or suggesting that President Akufo-Addo would mobilize some new people from outer space to clean our system for us? It is us who must take responsibility. Certain things must be done with us, but then the policy vision has been cast. The response of citizens to that, okay, the incentives that have been provided, the responses of citizens to that will ultimately yield the outcome.
Was there, for example,
Just bear with me 1 second. Just bear with me 1 second. You love your child to death. You take bullets for your child. But there are things that your child will do in spite of your best provisions for them. So, you as a father, you set the environment for your child to be successful.
And that's what I'm asking you. Was there
they must cross the finish line. You cannot cross the finish line. So yes, there has been transformation in President Akufo-Addo's administration, first and second term, and we can point to those things. But then to create the impression that there was a total transformation imminent, we must be careful to make those subject to the responses in the environment and the conditions that prevail. That, for me, is a conversation we must have honestly and ensure that where there are successes, we'll talk about them. Where there are pitfalls, we'll talk about them. But let's not create the impression, because he said it, it must happen, as though that he will just call them into existence minus the response in the environment.
I welcome Rockson-Nelson, Dafeamekpor, onto the phone line now. He's the MP for South Nai. Council, good morning, welcome.
Good morning to you, Johnny. Good morning to our listeners, and good morning to my brother, Bichik.
Great. I'll come to you in a bit. Ahiagbah, now, for example, in the Clean City agenda or the vision, as you put it, which was announced at Manche Agbona, the late dentist Kofi, the English Alata Manche, gave that title, Ni Kwaku Okujaman the First, to the president, and he made that pledge. On that occasion, he said in 4 years, he put a timeline to it. Have you, as Richard Ahiagbah, even seen the vision and the plan to achieve that? Because you are now putting the thing on the citizens to say the citizens should come out and all of that. That's fair enough. Did you see the leadership and vision? Did you have the blueprint, the plan towards making Accra the cleanest city? Did you see it? Have you seen it?
Johnny, you don't necessarily have to see a vision written on in black and white, but a vision crisp as it was that the president put forward is one that we all must buy into. It's a vision in our hearts. The idea is a president that wants to give it impetus, right? And you saw a lot of effort. I know some investment that has been done. In fact, if you see the Zoom Lion, some incentives that were given for them to create and build, waste processing facilities in Accra, in Kumasi. The last time, I think there's another company I went to Oti, Dambai area. There were some waste processing facilities that were building to process waste and ensure waste disposal becomes smarter, to give impetus to that vision. We saw the regional minister, now Interior Minister, Mr. Henry Korte, engage aggressively from 2021, seeking for individuals to take responsibility with Claim Your Frontage, engaging directly to dealing with this matter. What has happened? Okay, so the effort is still ongoing. We have not arrived at a destination. The point I was making to you earlier is that the reaction in the environment will either accelerate the vision or, impede the vision. But what is important
how are the people supposed to follow? How are the people supposed to follow what they have not seen? How are the people supposed to follow what they have not seen? Be real. You lead the communication of your party. If there's no blueprint, how do your communicators, for example, go on media to communicate? You have a plan. If there's no plan, how do the people? Where's the plan?
Johnny, there are ordinances in all assembly, metropolis, and municipal. There are ordinances.
You mean bylaws?
Bylaws.
Right.
They must enforce those. The regional minister here in Accra gave impetus to that. I recall very vividly being on a program with your senior, Dr. Ahiagbah, where he was cheering the minister on and saying that he must task all the district assemblies, municipal district chief executives must take this fight on because there's a process in motion. People must take ownership. That's what I'm talking about, the reaction in the environment. When you conceive that you want to give your child a best possible life, it is dependent on their reaction to your vision that will determine if your good intention for your children will be realized or not.
I hear you.
So the government and the president's leadership, directed through the minister for the region, has put in motion a process to achieve that end. The resistance, because you can't take pain, there's just so much you can do, but you cannot today say that the government has not put in motion a process to achieve that end. It is still in motion, the resistance is there, but the fight continues. And I think that in the nearest possible time, we will achieve the clean Ghana, cleanest Accra, because it's important.
Before President Akufo-Addo exits power.
The thing about a good vision is that it never dies.
I hear you. Let me bring in counsel. Let me bring in counsel.
It's relevant. It's specific. Akufo-Addo has given impetus to it, and will be realized.
Counsel. So the All Africa Games has been on, and I'm sure you've heard some of the athletes complain about the challenges that they have gone through, and the minister has been also explaining, even though he hasn't taken full responsibility. Ahiagbah agrees with me that the minister should have apologized before reassuring us. What do you say from where you sit as a sports enthusiast?
Thank you very much. First of all, let me make the point that every support has been given to the government and by extension the minister to successfully host this game. You will know that the game had already been postponed from 2023 to 2024.
That's right.
Because of logistical difficulties, because we couldn't meet the timeline regarding getting the games village ready. The continental managers agree with us and postpone it to this year. Now we are here. Once we have difficulties in some of the basic logistical arrangements in the games village, why didn't we, for instance, anticipate that building a games village such as the one we built in Botiano should not come with a standby plant? I mean, how is that possible? How couldn't our engineers conceive of that? So that when the main electricity supply goes up, we can put on a plant. All this goes into planning. Our national athletes are complaining, even about most of transportation and how early they got their equipment to train with. So we do have a problem. But as a host country, as a host nation, we are all praying that all hands will be brought on deck to assist the minister host these games successfully. The games will end on the 25th of March.
Right.
So we have about 2 weeks more to go. But Tony, this is games that we've spent nearly $200 million to ensure that we host it successfully. We shouldn't be having even transportation difficulties or lodging difficulties. All right. So me, I'm a nationalist. I'm a patriot. I want our name to go global. That notwithstanding the teething problems at the beginning, we did host the games successfully. That's what I'm interested in. So I won't play politics with what's happening. The people should be able to account for resources that have been placed in their hands in trust for the people. But it appears that when these things happen, there are no consequences. So people misapply funds, misapply public resources without consequences. So we are falling into a state of laissez-faire. Everybody is approaching it the way that he or she desires. Meanwhile, there are standards to be met. Parliament was called into action. One day, we were asked to pass Ghana Anti-Doping Agency bill into law. We did that because we knew that if we didn't have that in place, we couldn't have commenced the games on the day that it was open. Why did we sit down until last week in order to pass the Ghana Anti-Doping Agency bill into law? For instance, when we knew that we bidded for this game nearly 10 years ago, we knew that 2023, 2024 we will be the host. These are some of the things that trouble me. So we can do politics, all right, but these are national matters that we shouldn't toy with.
I see.
Because tomorrow, if we want to host another continental or global game, these are the qualities you'll be standing on that you successfully hosted the All African Games, for instance.
I see. Richard, I bring you in. We'll move on to the next subject. When will the president sign the LGBTQ bill?
Johnny, well, let me quickly thank my brother. I think that he needn't say that he's a patriot or nationalist, but I think that he spoke well. I think I appreciate that position. And in this conversation thus far, I would say the two of us being politicians, we've spoken nationally. It is you, Johnny, who is trying to insert politics.
No, that's not fair. That's not fair to say. I'm saying that if you make a promise and you fail to deliver on that promise, the work of the journalist is to ask you when you are going to fulfill the promise. It's simple.
When you ask the question such that you invite politics into it,
it's not politics. You say, give me 18 months. I will transform the country. In 2 years, no household will have water toilet problem. If I ask you that, how am I being a politician?
When you get it wrong sometimes, it's okay.
Yes.
It will make you human.
It is not wrong. President Akufo-Addo made a promise. He has failed to deliver that.
And he has any politics into it. You have inserted a little bit into it. We appreciate it. But we, the politicians,
the president, the people remember the promise that he made that in 2 years, no household will have a toilet problem, and we still have that problem. Admit it.
It's okay.
And stop foisting false narrative onto people, please. I beg you. You are my friend.
No, I mean,
but don't force false narrative onto me. I won't take it. As for that, I will defend it to the last blood.
No problem.
Drop of blood I had.
It on us and we should take it.
No, I didn't manufacture. I will transform Ghana in 18 months. President Akufo-Addo, then as opposition leader, said that.
Just relax.
I'm relaxed, but don't say I am forcing it. He said it. The man you work for.
I am saying that. My brother actually has spoken very well, and that is how we should speak going forward. To say that as a people we must solve problems. And if he hadn't spoken like that, there were lots that I could say. But I think that we are in a process of growth, and the arrangements and preparation so far, whilst there is a lot that needs to be done, and I believe that in the coming days, before the close of the tournament, much of these efforts will come together for us to deliver successful games for the continent. We need to bind together. We need to speak nationally. We need to understand that there's a lot that goes into this, and it's not as simple as imagined. And so, therefore, it's going to be a cakewalk.
Okay, Richard.
A lot of work, I say that. We appreciate that.
Richard, hold on a bit for me. Listen to this.
I'm promising you, Within 18 months of a new government of the NPP under my leadership, the face of our country, Ghana, is going to change.
So that's the president. I am not the one who authored it. He said it himself. He published it himself. Now let's go on to my question.
Johnny,
when is the president signing the LGBTQI bill?
I'll tell you that. You see, you always want to have the last word. Johnny, the fact that you don't collect the people's tax and you speak as an individual doesn't mean you don't have responsibility for the things you speak.
I pay taxes.
So let's get that. So I'm saying that. And I've answered that question, except if you want me to go back based on what
the president said that. Let's not mess up the program. What the president said. No, what the president. Why are you forcing what the president said on me? Why are you doing that?
No, I'm saying.
Why are you doing that? Why are you forcing what the president said on me? The man said, "I will transform the country in 18 months." He has failed to do that, and you say we shouldn't say it.
To take responsibility where you have dropped the ball.
I haven't dropped the ball. I said he failed.
Take politics into the African games, and my brother Rockson came and told you that this is not a political matter.
No, I didn't.
So between us, the politicians, we are speaking about the nation, and you, the journalists, are the one driving politics.
Richard,
that you should just take that as an input and move on.
Richard.
Now your question about LGBT.
Richard, no, Richard, you won't come and do that on my show. Richard, you won't come and do that on my show. Let's have mutual respect. I didn't inject politics into it yesterday. Janet, find me Winifred Intumi's audio. I spoke with her, the lady who won the gold and silver. She was on this platform, said that she wears size 38. She was giving size 40. If I rehash that, how is that political? If Winifred Intumi comes on my network and says, for example, that she only got the boots the day before the event, and that the usual practice is that they have to get it a week before, how is that political? Why are you people so hypocritic when it comes to pointing out the faults of the things that you have to fix, and you fail to take responsibility, and all you do is name calling? Why do people do that? Why do you people do that?
Johnny,
why do you people do that?
Johnny,
you take no, don't do that, because now what you are doing is you are impugning my integrity, and you are consistent. You are subtly doing it. Don't do that. Janet, play the video for me. Play the video. I've heard your colleagues, some of the athletes, talk about the fact that they didn't get their equipment, their jerseys and attires are old and all of that. What do you say to those things?
Yeah, it's true. To be honest with you. Me myself, I even experienced it because I had to use my old my old boots to compete. And even when they brought the things, like they give it to you a day before your competition, which is very bad.
A day before the competition was when you got your things?
Yes, especially with the boots, for instance. They took our sizes, but when I had my weightlifting boots, they gave me size 40.
And your size, what your size original is what?
38.
So you were size 38, but you were giving size 40.
Exactly.
But the team is supposed to know what size you wear. So how?
They took everything, and the thing is, if they should have brought it earlier on, we would have been able to do something about it, but they didn't bring it early. And with weightlifting, for instance, you can't just take a boot today and say you are using it to compete. You have to use it minimum of 1 week to get familiar,
right?
Be able to get used to it.
Right.
So if you give it to me today, don't expect me to use it. I won't use it.
I'm proud of you.
Even with the tracksuit and stuff, they are big. They are way bigger.
So, Richard Ahiagbah, this is the gold medalist, the first to ever have won it. How is rehashing and playing back what she said is political? How is that? Explain to me.
No problem. Yes, Johnny, you see, that incident that the young lady, congratulations to her, explained to you, it's not a government policy matter. It's a team issue, right? But to try to amplify that, and you know, Johnny, you are a seasoned journalist. You know what we call agenda setting. Create this impression in the public like something is breaking, ultimately something is bad. That was what you were doing there. You're trying to amplify that. But that is just an organizational issue at the organizing team level. Resource movement issue. People coordination issue.
For all the athletes.
That is not a matter that should define the games, Johnny.
For all the athletes.
So you are using your podium or your platform to politicize an issue that ought not to be politicized. That's what I am telling you, Johnny. You need to take responsibility. As much as you want people, you come on your show every day to impugn their integrity, to take responsibility.
Richard,
I'm simply just telling you that.
Richard,
we can move on to talk about
Richard,
the next issue.
if you put athletes,
Richard, when you get it wrong, because John, you are not infallible.
Richard, if you put athletes,
you amplify something you ought not to amplify.
Richard,
you politicize a common issue. You don't need to amplify that matter, but you did it so you can besmirch the character of the government,
Richard,
to create an impression that, oh, this whole game is a sham, it's not working, it is breaking down, but it is not.
Richard, close your eyes. Think about the millions.
Just like Honorable Rockson-Dafeamekpor has said, we must be nationalistic. And so that matter is not a straw that breaks the camel's back.
Richard, close your eyes.
That need to be managed and are being managed. But when you amplify that, Johnny, you are setting an agenda.
Richard,
and that is not necessary. You don't need to do that.
Close your eyes and imagine yourself as an athlete and know that your country has spent millions of dollars to procure vehicles to transport you to the event center, and you are put in the bucket of a pickup. Explain how you will feel as an athlete and tell me if that's political.
Again, Johnny, just like my brother Rockson has said, resources have been given to people. If you also close your eyes, you can actually see those trucks, those V8s and whatnot that have been branded for the games. And they are being driven around with people not inside. So it is an organizational issue. It's not a lack of resource issue. It is people who have been put in place are not coordinating properly. So you can speak to that and say, we see all these trucks in town. So please make sure you make it available to the guests. All the buses that have been branded, they are there.
Richard.
So if you see the issue and you step aside and you're politicizing it, Johnny, we should be able to tell you that do the right thing.
Richard,
because you are the fourth estate of the realm.
Richard,
you are not infallible.
The NPP's
your words carry weight.
Richard,
so when you choose to politicize something that ought not to be politicized, we should be able to tell you fair and square, Johnny. Don't
Richard, the people who politicized the All Africa Games is your party, because in your 2020 manifesto, and I'll read to you. Hold on, please. Hold on. Let me ask you a final question. In your 2020 manifesto, this is captured. It says, we will host and organize the 13th Africa Games in 2023. This will afford Ghana the opportunity to construct a national Olympic stadium complex to bridge the nation's sports infrastructure deficit. The Games will also provide the opportunity to address capacity and facility deficiencies for the organization of all sports and, more importantly, rebrand the popular inter-schools and colleges sports towards mainstreaming their products into national teams for all international games. This is captured in the 2020 manifesto, upon which the people of Ghana considered and voted for you. So this was situated in a political space. If I am asking a questions as to why this has not been done as was explained in the manifesto, you say that is political and the journalists cannot ask? Is that what you're saying?
Johnny, I said you keep digging yourself deeper and deeper. This is what you have just read has been done. The infrastructure being put in place has been done. One of the best aquatic centers in the first of its kind in our country has been built. The infrastructure at the University of Ghana has not had the complex that it has now for many years of its existence. That has been done. You see it. You go there. You have seen it, Johnny. So what you have just read in the manifesto has been done. But what the problem is that we are talking about is your disproportionate reporting of the matter.
When an ambulance arrives and doesn't have fuel, it is disproportionate. Ahiagbah.
Johnny, please. Okay? It is respectful, it's your platform, but it must be respectful that I come on it. So don't make it as if you are doing me a favor.
Okay, so Richard, nobody said that. Nobody said that.
You said that you can't come on my platform and do ABC.
Yes, you can't come on my platform and impugn my integrity. I won't agree.
The platform is a platform necessarily because we all participate on it.
Richard Ahiagbah. So let me listen to you.
The point I'm making to you is that, Johnny, please listen. The point I'm making to you is that the thing about shoe size that you are talking about is not a macro issue that defines what we said we were going to do in our manifesto. What we said we're going to do principally has been done. But the human factor in delivering that, if that results in giving, instead of 38 size, 38, somebody's giving 40, it's a question of getting the right size, period.
I see.
That should not become the agenda. That should not become the subject headline matter. That you, Johnny, sitting on a platform the size that you have, to trap it, instead of saying that for 75 years or more, the University of Ghana has now gotten a sport complex that is befitting of its status. That is an achievement. So I'm saying that you are part of the establishment, the fourth estate of the realm. Your proportional reporting of the news is part of our delivery. So take note and report the news proportionally.
So I should ignore the fact that an ambulance came when international cyclists were waiting. I should ignore it. No, I'm asking because those are the things that the athletes have been through.
You are trying to justify yourself, and what it shows is that you every morning you come on your Johnny's bike and you impugn people.
I see where this is going.
You don't like to take responsibility.
I see where this is going.
I'm saying that you who want to throw a stone, or you who are calling for equity, you are not willing to come with clean hands. If you have dropped the ball, then you have dropped the ball. That's simple.
I see where this is going. So all along, it was Johnny's bad that was the target, not the question I asked you. Thank you for the clarity.
You refuse to accept it.
Thank you for the clarity that all this while it was Johnny's bad that was the target, not the question I asked you. Thank you for the clarity. Now answer my question. When is the president signing the LGBTQ bill?
Accept when you are at fault to accept responsibility. It's as simple as that. You are not above reproach.
When is the president signing the LGBT law?
Johnny, thank you very much. The LGBTQ plus bill, anti-LGBT law, as a bill, has not gotten to the president. And if it gets to him, from what we know, the process, I think Article 106 would activate, but as we speak, it hasn't gotten to him, subject to some issues in the Supreme Court pending determination on the matter.
I see.
But if it gets to the president, he will sign it. But before that, I need to mention that His Excellency Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo is not, in principle, against the collective desire of Ghanaians not to see the growth and promotion of LGBT or same-sex and related activities in Ghana. It is in principle against it. He is in principle against it. He is not stand anywhere to canvass for it. He is not stand anywhere to promote it. And so, therefore, if it is an appropriate law, a law that is not challenged or deemed to be against or affecting anybody's right under our Constitution, comes to him, he will sign it. Number two, the party, the New Patriotic Party that His Excellency Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo is a member of, on whose ticket he is the president of this republic, is inherently opposed to same-sex activities in this country. It's a matter of principle. It's a matter of values that we are against that. We are promoters of traditional conservative values of Ghanaians. Some cultural values are better kept by the New Patriotic Party. That's what we stand for. That's who we are. That's
right.
Our policy stance. And ultimately, in Parliament, my brother, Honorable Rockson, will tell you that his colleagues on the MPP side voted in unison to pass that bill, which is in motion when all the matters related to it are addressed, gets to the president, who will be signing to law. So that's the position. The bill is not yet with the president, and when all the matters attending to it are addressed, the president will sign it because it's consistent with his values and his party's values.
I hear you. Counsel, stepping for me, you are one of the proponents of this this bill. Where are we now? Has it gone to the president? Do you have hopes that the president will sign it into law?
Okay, thank you very much. As of yesterday, the bill was with the clerk doing the final editorial work. I made a point on some other platform that hitherto, when bills were passed into law with extensive amendments such as this bill has gone through, we discovered later, when the bill has been assented to and gazetted, that some amendments, critical amendments that were supposed to have been carried on the floor, did not reflect or do not reflect in the laws that we passed. And so efforts will have to be made for an amendment bill to be brought to inculcate those. So going forward from this year, the practice has been that all bills that are passed into law will have to go through some editorial work to ensure that all T's are crossed, all I's are dotted.
Okay.
All commas and colons are in their places before they are remitted. And that is what this bill is going through. So, but I'm hopeful that by the close of this week, it will be certified by the Speaker, authenticated by the clerk, and remitted to the office of the President. When that is done, then the constitutional timeline stipulated in Article 106 plus 8, 10, 9, 10, 11, thereabouts, will kick into motion.
The president, right? Go ahead.
I'm hopeful that the president will sign. You see, there's no injunction on the president not to perform his constitutional.
He said there's a matter before the Supreme Court and would have to wait.
So exactly, because you see, the stipulations in Article 106.8 thereabouts do not lend itself to an injunctive process. There's a presumption of regularity in the performance of your constitutional duties until the court of law pronounces otherwise. So until the court says that the president ought not to assign to a bill, the president cannot be prevented from assigning to that bill. In other words, if a law is pronounced to be irregular by the Supreme Court, the law is struck down as null and void. You understand? So you can't say that because there's a matter before the Supreme Court, I will not perform my constitutional duties. If that is done, then I have already given the indication that I will be compelled to go to court for another of mandamus to compel the president to perform his constitutional function.
I see. Now, the consent...
And let me explain further. See, Article 106 is very clear. It says that if a bill is remitted to the office of the president, he has to assent to it. If he decides to veto, that is to refuse assent, he has to get back to Parliament within 14 days with reason regarding the entire provision of the bill or some provisions of the bill with reasons underpinning the proposed amendment. And Parliament is mandated under the Constitution to reconsider those proposals from the President to factor them into the law.
Okay.
The other route is that if he decides to refer it to the Council of State for further advice, again, he must propose amendments to the Council of State for consideration. And when that is done, he must inform Parliament within 7 days that I have referred the bill to Council of State with some amendments from me. And so I wish to notify Parliament. That must be done within 7 days. When Council of State receives such a request, they are within 30 days to revert back to the President with their advice. So the timelines are such that the President cannot keep the bill on his desk until ad infinitum, until such time that whether 3 years, 4 years, 5 years, or whatever time that the Supreme Court decides the matter, he will have to act. He must, if he doesn't act, he will be compelled to act.
I see. Richard Ahiagbah, the Chief Imam, through his spokesperson, Sheikh Karim Eyal, has said that the President needs to sign the bill ASAP. Are you in agreement with him?
Well, yes, the president has to sign the bill, and if the bill gets to the president, and it is, as rightly as my brother said, under a circumstance where you presume everything is right, it's a matter of conscience and responsibility. The president signs the bill into law. But we are not in such times. You know, our constitution, and even the New Patriotic Party constitution, makes a solemn commitment that as a party, if we form a government, will endeavor to live in peace with all countries. That's a position of our foreign policy commitment. And so we have responsibility as a country to live in the global community of nations as responsible citizens, doing our best to foster global cohesion and unity. And so it's incumbent upon us when we as a people come in this moment where we are passing a law of the magnitude that will exclude, will put certain burdens and responsibilities on people who share the space with us as we share other people's spaces in their country as global citizens, that our president put great reflection and wisdom to that act. And that act is not executed expressly because it is our country, right? But it is our country in concert with other countries, with other people living in the space with us. The point I want to establish for you, Johnny, is that this bill has raised a lot of concerns with our international partners, with other global citizens. And as we speak, there are our citizens in jurisdictions where the law, the local law, affects them one way or the other. And so, if we are making laws in our country, we must understand in a larger context that we're not making that law onto ourselves only. There are other people who share the space that must comply with that law. And then there is a larger international conversation of ensuring acceptance and, a better environment for all citizens of the world.
I see.
So on that basis, and on the basis that there's a case challenging the human rights dimension of this law, the president takes his time. So this is not a regular law where you presume regularity until somebody comes to say that, oh, such and such and such is limiting A, B, and C, so let's review it. By the time you do that with this law, maybe lives may have been lost. And at that point, it will be that what was the hurry? These challenges were outstanding. Why didn't we address those challenges?
Would it be...
And as a responsible citizen of the globe or the global community, I think that the president has the burden of ensuring that there is an all-clear situation to do with the bill. And so when he signs, then there's due diligence. He has gone over and above.
The finance ministry has raised certain consequences that could befall us if the president goes ahead to sign this. Some members within the MPP, lawyer Pierre Kubi, MP for Asante Achim North, said, for example, that what we have with the IMF is a contractual matter, and the conditions or the ingredients within that contract is nowhere close to what the Ministry of Finance is suggesting. Will the president listen to the finance ministry against the will of the people because all 275 MPs endorsed this bill?
Johnny, the idea is not that the finance ministry advisory note that is coming to public domain is not the only consideration that must be taken into account. I haven't come down, I've come to that. But the primary objective is to pass a law that will engender global unity. But if you have a law that at its inception has this massive global opposition, then you know as a country you must assure that you've covered all the bases. As my brother said, you must make sure all your T's are crossed and your I's are dotted before you move forward. So that you have reasonable justification that according to us, we have respected all the available standards. All the human rights standards have been respected. And on that basis, we exercise our sovereign power to pass that law to regulate behavior in our space. That due diligence is in motion. The Supreme Court will listen to, I think the Shrike has brought a case, an individual has brought a case. Let them listen to it, because in the construct of the government we have for ourselves, the judiciary is equal in relation to the executive and that the legislature. So if a matter is before them and they have admitted to listen to that matter, relative to an act that the executive must execute, I think that given the magnitude of the case, it is proper that the president want to exercise that wisdom to see the determination of that matter. Because as my brother rightly said, if the president goes ahead to sign this bill, the Supreme Court, which is the final authority in what our laws should mean and what the interpretations are, if they go and rule in favor of the people who are before them, then it means that the law will be stand down and the work done would have been zero. So it is wise and proper, in my view, that the president is cautious. Even though he can presume regularity and go and sign it, it's not prudent, because if the Supreme Court rule one way or the other, it probably would bring us back to square one.
I hear you.
And then we would have wasted resources to go through that motion only to leave to do it another day.
Counsel, our final issue, third and final.
Johnny,
yes, sir.
Johnny,
yes, sir.
Johnny,
yes,
first of all, you've allocated a disproportionate time to Richard.
Apologies to you.
When you ask Richard a question, Richard can spend like 10 minutes. You ask me a question, after 2 minutes, you want to go back to Richard. That is not fair.
I apologize to you.
So
I know that lawyers are brief, so
I agree. But let me make the point. Richard tells us today that the president is exercising his wisdom in seeking to abide the outcome of the matter before the Supreme Court. That is beautiful, isn't it? But as we speak, the minority is in court in respect of the constitutionality of the E-Levy Act. But the president didn't see it fit to extend the same cases in terms of exercising restraint in assenting to it. He told us that the regularity of law or the principle of law is that a matter cannot be struck down as illegal, unconstitutional, until a court of law says otherwise. So he proceeded to to assent to the E-Levy law, and it became a law. As we speak, every transaction that you undertake on a momo, you are E-Levied. All right? So we are demanding the same principle from him, that there is no court of law that has injuncted him from performing his constitutional functions. Indeed, there is no case law that does that. That is why even when the president is elected into office and sworn into office, and his election is called into question, he is not barred from carrying out his duties under law, unless a court otherwise says so. So I am positing again, the matter before the Supreme Court is not about the constitutionality of the bill as far. Let's be very clear. They are proceeding under Article 2, though, but they are attacking an act of Parliament, a conduct, a function that Parliament has carried out, not an act of Parliament for people court. Let's get the distinction.
I see.
So we are asking the Supreme Court to question whether or not Parliament has the right to pass a certain bill into law. That's their journey before the Supreme Court.
Has the Speaker of Parliament also been sued?
Yes, Speaker of Parliament has been sued, but we, the sponsor, have not been sued, so we'll be joining the action. For what exactly has he been sued? The Speaker of Parliament?
Yes.
One of the reliefs they are taking is that the Speaker didn't have the power to exercise his function under law when he said that the bill will not occasion a charge on the consolidated fund. You know that under the law, the Constitution is to the effect that in the opinion of the member presiding, or in the opinion of the person, yes, that's the constitutional language, in the opinion of the person presiding, if a bill will not occasion a charge on the consolidated fund, the bill will be permitted to go through the due process and be passed into law.
I see.
So they are questioning the exercise of that constitutional function by the Speaker, that he expressed that opinion wrongly. when the Constitution merely says that the person has the power to express that opinion, but we'll go into those merits or the demerits of the argument before the court.
I see.
But I am saying that given where we are in terms of the constitutional architecture, the president cannot withhold his assets. But that is not what the Constitution says. If you withhold your assets, there must be reason. And the reasons must be in conformity with the constitutional provisions. Otherwise, even the decision not to act is in itself unconstitutional.
I get it. Okay. Richard, the National Cathedral, and a bit of background, this was a cathedral, again, a pledge by President Akufo-Addo to God that should he be given a second term in office, he will build the God that he serves a cathedral. And then the initial conversation was that we're not going to use any state resources. This was going to be funded by himself and private people and those who donate. Fast forward, we know that state resources have been committed, including some that were not even at the pleasure of Parliament. Now, the commissioning date, as was announced by Mr. Ken Ofori-Atta in Parliament, the 6th of March 2024 has come and gone, and yet we don't have the cathedral in place. There are many views that have come. Some say continue, some say forget about it, convert it into something else. What is the party's position on the National Cathedral as we speak?
Johnny, just two quick reactions, then I'll answer your question. I think I agree with my brother, but on the e-levy matter, that there was a case, the president went ahead and signed the law. But he will appreciate with me that the two are not on the same scale in terms of magnitude. In terms of urgency, the e-levy needed to be signed because that's a law that had been delayed exceedingly because of the tenuous politics that defeat the e-levy. And so it was in a category of itself that given that you have passed a policy measure that requires a revenue handle to be able to fund, and that revenue handle has been held in abeyance for a period of time and finally hasn't been passed, you can't waste any more time if you are to successfully implement your fiscal policies for the fiscal year that you have passed the measure for. So definitely the anti-LGBT law and bill and the e-levy bill at the time are not of the same magnitude. So that's why you can make the adjustment for the anti-LGBTQ having to be for the president having to want to wait for the outcome of the case before the Supreme Court. And the final point I'll take is that my brother is a lawyer, and so he understands that the power of judicial review rests with the Supreme Court. And so at any given time, whatever anybody thinks, the Supreme Court has that judicial review power at the last line of defense. And so if they choose to exercise it, fair enough. The Constitution may have said it, but the Supreme Court has that judicial review power, and we must all defer to that. The issue of...
what is the party's position on the National Cathedral?
The issue of the...
Counsel. Sorry. Ahiagbah, hold on for me. Yes, Counsel.
With all due respect to Richard, that's not how the law works. There's no inferior law passed by Parliament. There's no superior law passed by Parliament. A bill is a bill. So once Parliament goes through its constitutional and parliamentary strict test to pass that into law, it becomes an act of Parliament. It's an enactment for which an absence of the president is required. So you must not make the distinction that the e-levy law is inferior to the private members' bill that we presently pass into law. There's no such distinction. The requirements are the same under the constitutional provision. So he conveniently justifies why the president will want to abide a certain matter before the Supreme Court, questioning the constitutionality of a parliamentary act. And yet, he is in support of the president saying that I will proceed to assent to a bill that will be passed into law, even though its constitutionality is also being questioned in the same forum. That is the hypocrisy I think that we should address. So let's be very clear.
Okay.
There's no such distinction in law.
Okay, I hear you. Thank you. Richard,
Johnny.
National Cathedral, what is the party's position? We don't have too much time, so let's quickly
No problem.
get to it.
No problem. We don't have too much time. Just 1 minute. I'm saying that the difference between the point I'm making and what my brother is making is context and magnitude. The anti-LGBT law has far-reaching global implications for our country because we are citizens of the world, and the law is going to impact other citizens in our space and indirectly will impact our citizens in other places as well. So our response to that law must be measured, must come by way of wisdom and deliberate movement. And so the president is doing that. It is not the same as the e-levy. So let's get that proportional, context.
Richard, but all 275 members of parliament, led by the speaker, had passed this. This is a representation of the entire country because every member of parliament represents a constituency in this country, more like the mood of the nation. And you say that they really did not think through it properly. Is that what I get from you?
No, that's not the point. I'm saying that there is a decision that, Johnny, you have to make that affects yourself, your wife, and your children. And there's a decision you have to make that affects Johnny, your wife, your children, and your extended family, your mother, parents, siblings included. That decision, you can make it telling your wife, let's just allow the children to stay home today. They've been working hard, so let them stay. But if it is about your mother's 90th birthday or 30th wedding anniversary, you and your wife cannot say our children are tired, so let's just stay home. Or your wife cannot tell you, Johnny, don't go to your mother's anniversary because it is something we must spend this night together with our children. It's a decision.
Councillor, I'll have you hold on for me, please.
It's a decision, the two decisions, you come to them with some deliberate intention. The first one is a summary conclusion. But this one that affects other people outside of your house, you will have to deliberate. You have to engage your mom.
Okay.
Mommy, is it okay that we don't come?
I think you have made your point, Richard. Thank you. Thank you. Eche, what were you saying?
My point is that we have a law that bans the smoking of marijuana in this country.
That's correct.
Marijuana grows in the wild. People have right to smoke things that they find in nature. But we passed a law and said that you can't do that. Meanwhile, we allow tobacco, which also grows in the wild, for people to smoke. And doctors have said that if you do so at your own, at the risk of your own health. So there's a distinction when people talk about rights. The law is not meant for the global citizens. It is meant for Ghanaians. We have
that is not entirely true. That's not entirely true.
Okay, gentlemen.
Can I finish?
That's not entirely
Richard, I think you should allow him to.
He was interrupting a minute ago. So,
Johnny.
Yes, sir.
There's a law in nearly every state in America banning polygamy. It bans it. Africans having to complain as America listens to us. That's 2 weeks ago. A man was sentenced to 6 years imprisonment for engaging in polygamy in the United States. Isn't that human right? Hasn't he got the right to marry more than 2 women? We have 10 million Muslim community in the United States of America, yet they are not allowed to practice one of their really fundamental religious rights of marrying up to 4 women. They are not permitted to do that in the United States.
That's not necessarily fundamental to the Islamic faith.
So please, when people want to
marrying for is not fundamental
law. I am talking about global rights.
Okay.
I am talking about rights of Ghanaians.
Thank you.
That we are prescribing.
Thank you very much.
Our constitutions are fundamental or the supreme law in Ghana, not in international covenant or principles.
Thank you.
In any case, who are those minority people in Ghana who claim that they are gay? We want to see them. We've been in Parliament, we've been asking that they should come. None of them appeared. It's only people who have been advocating for them. We are asking, who are these minority rights? Nobody has gone up.
Okay, thank you very much. Now, Richard, please go to the answer to my question. We don't have too much time.
We don't have to talk about the cathedral because the issues with it are self-evident.
No, so I'm asking you, what is the party's position? Your party's position on the National Cathedral? No. We will not go back to the LGBT. I beg you, please. I beg you. We advertised 3 topics. We have spent time on Richard. That is a standard.
To the cathedral tomorrow.
That is a standard we maintain here on Sunrise.
That we must
Richard, you don't dictate editorial policy. Sorry. Now the editorial policy here is that
the editorial is to bring the subject, but if the subject is not exhausted,
Richard Ahiagbah. What is your party's position on the National Cathedral?
Johnny,
yes, sir.
This cathedral matter has been litigated over time. I don't think it's a priority now.
I am asking you. We have not heard the NPP's views. What is the NPP's view on the National Cathedral?
Just last week, Johnny, I spoke on this matter just last week.
Remind us. What did you say?
Out there. But you see, the issue to do with this LGBT...
No, Richard, you will not change the question. You will not change the question, please.
Johnny, you don't want me on your platform.
No, I want you here, but I want you to answer the question.
And then you begin to stifle me when I'm explaining.
No, we have had a conversation. I am asking you, what is your party's position on the National Cathedral, Richard Ahiagbah?
About the issue. You cannot have an issue hanging out there and prevent me from talking about it.
Richard, we have exhausted the conversation. I say,
Johnny,
what is...
exhausted it. I haven't exhausted it.
Well, if you not allow me, then I'll bring a change to the conversation. I'm sorry, Richard. Council, what is your party's position on the National Cathedral?
The National Cathedral is not a national priority, in our opinion, and our flag bearer has spoken eloquently to that matter. We don't think that we have the resources to build such a monument to serve certain purposes for now. It will be served. In any case, we want accountability for the over $100 million that we spent on this project. All the persons who will be paid, and yet we have nothing to show for it. State properties have been destroyed. We want it. Even if we want a national cathedral, that is not the location. That cannot be the location at this time of the day. So for us, in terms of priority, it's in the back burner.
And you don't agree with all the men of God, the Christians, who say that this should be done so that at least it also adds on to our religious stature, it adds on to our tourism and all the things that have been said about the National Cathedral. You don't believe that?
I think you heard me say that even if we need it, that is not the location. Too. Even if we need it, we don't have the financial muscle to do it now. Look at the struggle. We've spent anything. We have serious issue with accountability. I was hoping that there should be modicum of constructional material or construction going on, having spent in excess of $100 million. Johnny, $100 million is not money you put in your back pocket on not the streets of Accra. That's a colossal amount of money. Meanwhile, we only have an excavated edge to show for all that money we've spent. So people simply have taken our money in the name of the cathedral and squandered it.
Richard, are you ready to talk about the National Cathedral now?
Johnny,
yes,
let me register a displeasure. I represent the New Patriotic Party.
Right.
I think Director of Communications.
That's
so when
right.
I come on your program, there are some concerns that I will address that is the party's position. Okay? Now, your conduct this morning has not been acceptable to us. Number two, your network is increasingly making it difficult for us to come because you are setting a certain agenda to achieve a certain outcome. That, for me, the Media Commission needs to take notice that you are obstructing fair conversation and you are creating a certain platform in this country that is biased, that is politically biased, and we think that that's not acceptable.
By asking you a question, you mean that is unbiased? That is biased?
Hold on, please. You are trying to let me understand that you have set a certain agenda to discuss a certain issue. So when there is a question that has been raised about something that requires clarification, once you are satisfied with your agenda, I should not clarify for the people who are listening to understand.
Mr. Richard Ahiagbah, Mr. Richard Ahiagbah, in media,
the Ghanaians who are listening to you are not exclusively MPP, are not exclusively NDC or otherwise. They are Ghanaians seeking to understand the propositions of the two political parties and the others on the basis of which to make a decision. So when you bring that here, don't determine the conclusion you want. Allow the conversation to flow.
Mr. Richard Ahiagbah,
your listeners will understand and make an informed judgment.
Mr. Richard Ahiagbah,
what I see is a deliberate skewing of the matter. This is what we want to talk about. This is the outcome we are looking for, and therefore anything that strays away from that, we will not accept it. We'll stop it. And I don't come all the time on your program. My communicators, my MPP people come on your platform, and I've taken notice of this, and I would just want to register that strong position to your media management to say that you are creating a certain platform that, for me, is not balanced, and it's not right that you continue that way, because you are serving Ghanaians, not the political party or any one singular political party. Okay? So,
Mr. Ahiagbah, can
I think I've registered my displeasure with the way you're carrying on and the way your platform is being administered.
Can I make an input? Can I make an input?
No, I've just made my point. Take it and you can discuss it.
Well,
it's not a conversation.
I think that we also have a right of reply, because you are dragging the whole media house and myself into it.
Johnny,
I've asked you. No, hold on, please. Hold on. You cannot make sweeping statements and go away with it. You cannot.
It's my displeasure.
No. And also, we have a displeasure to register.
I'm trying to make to you is that I want to answer your question.
And the question about the national cathedral. So you should have answered the question instead of making sweeping statements, because you must be accountable to the people. Be accountable and responsible.
These media houses have made it your political go-to issue. It's a major project that has been engaged in. Obviously, there have been challenges in terms of funding and all of that. There have been issues to do with, accountability and all of that. As we speak, the Secretariat itself has requested an audit, which is in motion. That, I think, by Deloitte accounting firm that are auditing their books. The outcome of that audit will be put out for all of us to see, which is the basis why work has stalled on the project as we speak. But let nobody create the impression. And those who are confident to create that impression, they can proceed. But I am cautious to understand that not everything that can be taken to be political. The building of the house of God, for me, is something I tremble when it comes to talking about it. That's why I support that when there is a need for accountability, then we must get accountability, and that accountability is coming. So let that audit report come for us to discuss. But the rest of it that is being done is political, and I think that it is not wise, it is not right for us to belittle this grand effort to honor God in our country. We shouldn't take it for jokes. We shouldn't take it for politics. It's most unfortunate that the NDC have gone as far as this to dent and to dirty the honorable project or the solemn project to build a memorial for God in our country. I don't think that is the right thing to do. But people have the right to call for accountability that is being done. There is no politics here to be pursued. And it shocks me all the time when people put this on agenda as a political thing they want to promote.
Is that the view? Is that the view of your party?
Johnny?
Yes, sir.
I just told you what I tell you. If you don't understand that it is wrong to politicize this project the way it's being politicized, then you can draw your own conclusions.
I'm asking you, is that the view of your party? Not what I think.
This matter, Johnny, this matter has been over-litigated. So you are not asking me today for my party's position. You know that. What is at
Why shouldn't I ask you?
What I have told you a million times. You have heard it from my communicators a million times. So it is only an agenda that you are asking me that question again today. But what is relevant to talk about today is that the project is not ongoing because there is pending audit, which is in the hands of Deloitte and
Richard, Richard, just a point of interest.
Bring its finding, and on the basis of that, then the project can continue. If there are no wrongdoings, people caught in that wrongdoing will be disciplined, and then the project can come on.
Richard, just a point of interest. You've been going on with agenda. Are you aware that in journalism there's agenda setting, priming, and framing that is taught to all journalists as a rudimentary class in journalism? Are you aware, as a communications director? Are you aware?
That's what I'm telling you about. My PhD research is in that, Johnny. So don't get me into classroom.
And are you also aware? Are you also aware that where there is no public opinion, the press helps to form one? If there's public opinion and it's scattered, the press shapes it. And if there's public opinion and it's pointed, the press publishes it. Are you aware?
No, that is a practice. It's not a fact.
So when you come and you say that a media person has an agenda, I don't get. It's like a lawyer. You say a lawyer always wears a wig and appears in court. That's trite knowledge, Richard. It's trite knowledge.
Listen, Johnny. While there is agenda setting, it's a practice that a media house takes abuses for political purposes. So what you are doing when I refer to agenda, I'm telling you that you are abusing the opportunity to set an agenda for public discourse.
Richard
Ahiagbah. You are using that agenda for a political end.
Richard Ahiagbah.
You understand? So the agenda is what you bring for us to discuss. You moderate the conversation for the chips to fall where they may. But you are taking the agenda and you are driving a certain political end. And that's where we are saying that your agenda setting is inimical to the public interest, Johnny.
Oh, Lord. I hear you.
When you learn this agenda setting in school, they told you what you can do with it. You are doing the adverse with it instead of serve the public interest.
I will have an agenda if my money is stolen, because money that is not approved by Parliament and spent on a project is stolen money. And it is a crime in our country. I, as a journalist with a public interest and the patriotic spirit, must call it what it is.
To accuse everybody in this country except yourself.
No,
you have earned a reputation.
I have, because I showed the documents. The money was stolen and used without proper parliamentary approval. It is thievery.
Listen, if you are in a situation where you are pointing at everyone, and to be the problem, and you to be the right, you must think about it again. Because in this conversation,
I don't claim any such thing.
Over a period, when you mount your mic, you blame everybody in this country except yourself. And I think that it's time for you to begin to look at yourself and see if you are not the problem.
I think that you really are sounding like the government blaming IMF and blaming Ukraine, Russia, COVID, NDC, and not blaming your government for any of our economic woes. That's what you are summarizing for us.
I'm talking about you.
And I'm telling you that that's how you behave.
And I'm sure your listeners understand that.
Richard, I hear you.
We only give reasonable explanation where we must, and we make admissions where we must. And so we don't engage in the business of saying we are holy, and we don't accept any.
So what explanation can you give to the money spent on the cathedral without parliamentary approval? What explanation is there?
I don't have to explain that. Jenny.
You don't have to. You don't have to explain that.
No. I don't have to explain that because there are processes to deal with that matter. So if there are money spent, what you are talking about is only perception. It is impressions people have in their heads. But if truly, my brother Honorable Rockson is on the line.
He's on the line, yes.
We have in Parliament a minority leader of the NDC. We have the leadership of the NDC. If they are convinced that there are money spent outside of parliamentary approval of the consolidated fund, they have responsibility to pursue that. But you see, what you are saying is without fact, it's perception that you are driving.
I see. Let's ask Eche, step in for me. Has money been spent that didn't come before Parliament? No. Let's get the clarity from him in Parliament, please. Let's get the clarity from him in Parliament, please.
Johnny.
Yes, sir.
It serves you right. I'm very happy this morning. It serves you right. You have allotted a time to a program. You give Richard Ahiagbah 2/3 of the time to speak, And yet he still comes back to complain that you have given him inadequate time to speak.
And I apologize to you.
So it sets you right. Look, Richard, we have gone into this matter. We move a motion for a parliamentary inquiry into the circumstances leading to the utilization of public funds without recourse to Parliament. We've been asked, if you heard the Honorable Kujetu has been complaining publicly about this matter, that we've been asked to submit names of committee members. The minority have submitted our names. The majority have failed, as we speak this morning, to supply names for purposes of Speaker composing the committee and launching them into action. So if you are not aware, let me tell you that this is the position Parliament has taken. We've been frustrated by your party in Parliament. They don't want to supply the name. And yet, if we proceed with the work, they'll say that we are inadequate, we are unconstitutionally constituted as a committee.
I see.
You are not committed for us to look into the circumstances of the utilization of public funds into this project. That is what is the position of the New Patriotic Party in this matter.
That's not our position. You see,
that is your position.
If Parliament is not able to do its job, if Parliament is not able to do its job,
what stops your party from supplying names of committee members
in order to do their job? You don't blame that on outside.
It's been 6 months. It's been 6 months.
But you don't blame that on outsiders. That is Parliament. That blame is fair and square on Parliament. You can't blame.
But you control the majority
outside
in
of
Parliament, don't you? You form the majority in Parliament. You've been asked as a party to supply names.
But who manages Parliament? It's not the majority that manages Parliament. It's the Speaker. He's in charge of Parliament.
No, so Speaker says you, the majority,
you don't blame you don't blame anybody.
Don't justify everything.
I'm not justifying. I'm only telling you.
But it's people to do that. Don't do that.
I'm not justifying. I'm only telling you that Speaker must be able to do his job. So if Speaker has not done his job, why do you blame somebody outside Parliament for the Speaker not constituting a committee?
Which is sometimes when you speak, slow down. I just told you that Speaker has directed both sides to supply names. Minorities.
Where does the buck stop?
You have refused.
The buck stops with the Speaker.
Done his work.
Honorable, the buck stops with the Speaker. So if a committee in Parliament has not been created, who is to take responsibility for it? You, all the members of Parliament, you work to the Speaker. So if the Speaker is not able to create a committee in his house, whose responsibility is it? Whose responsibility is it?
Gentlemen, I want to thank you very much indeed for your time this morning. I'm grateful. Our time is up.
Thank you, John.
It's my pleasure to have joined. But tell Richard not to do what. Look, Richard, don't lambast media houses this way. It's not right. It's unethical. What you have done is politics.
And that's what, please, don't do that. I only send a record as I see it. And this conversation is not only here. This conversation has been had. And I'm just reiterating a certain position. And Rockson, if you are the director of communication of your party, you will do the same thing I'm doing because we all have visibility of what is happening in the space. We are sticking to the visibility that we have, the agenda that is being advanced, so we are sticking to it.
Your complaint this morning, you could have spent that 10 minutes to address the matter. But you spent 10 minutes
because it was Johnny that was preventing me from addressing the matter.
I was.
Anyway,
Richard.
Was preventing me from
maybe Richard, maybe you should listen. You should listen to the.
I need to know that I'm unhappy.
Richard, you should play back. I will send you the link. Richard, I'll send you the link so that you listen again to the conversation. Listen to yourself again. I love you regardless. Have a good morning, my brother.
You're my good friend.
Richard Ahiagbah is Director of Communications of the NPP, and also Rockson-Nelson Dafeamekpor is the MP for the good people of South Dai. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
John,
yes, boss.
You said Richard is your brother.
Mm-hmm.
Did you listen to how he reacted? He said you are his friend.
I think he's my good friend. How about you? Don't my
I hear you.
A good brother and friend.
Gentlemen, in Kekanenyo. My God. Ellen. Why? It will be.
I mean, we can certainly ask as many times as we wish about the state of affairs as far as the National Cathedral and other matters arising are concerned. So, good morning from myself to Richard Ahiagbah. If he's getting fatigued